probably be very disorganized. It's our first time. I apologize for however crappy this ends up being, but we'll give it a shot. You know, we like to have fun, and we like cars. We're gearheads, so anything that gets anyone into cars, I mean, I'm happy to have it. It's not that we dislike EVs, by the way, so that's a preface to this whole thing because it's going to sound like an EV bash, I feel like, but we don't. I mean, if that's what gets people interested in cars, great. We've been doing this and turning wrenches since before EVs were a thing, so let's come with a little bit of bias, I suppose.
Just a little bit. All right, so I guess we should go over the legalities real quick. We're going to talk about a variety of companies and a variety of cars today. None of these things we are paid to say. We're not sponsored or endorsed by any of these people. And so let's go ahead and start with this week's second biggest controversy, since we wrote up these topics before Mr. Musk had his wonderful debut on TV with his Cybertruck. Let's go.
Amazing one. That's hilarious.
So let's go ahead and start with the Mustang Mach-E. Now, for those of you, I'll give a little background. I'm a huge Ford guy. I've owned many Mustangs and many Ford products. My last daily driver was a Ford Fiesta ST, and my current track car is a 2000 Mustang GT. But we'll get into that later. So when I heard that they were coming out with an electric Mustang earlier in the year, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. You know, build the brand. We'll have another two-door hot electric to compete with some of the other electrics that are coming out from Porsche and other manufacturers. Chevy was talking about doing one for a while as well. So I thought it'd be cool. Well, much to my dismay, when I got to work a couple days ago, everybody's like, did you see the news? Did you see the news? And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, Ford announced a new electric Mustang. I was like, oh, sweet. How'd I miss it? Okay, so this is where things went bad.
Oh, God.
Four-door Mustang would have been fine. Four-door electric Mustang in the sedan coupe-ish, you know, that everybody's doing. Audi has the A7 and that kind of stuff. Would have been great. This is basically, from what I can tell, an Escape or an Edge.
With a Mustang face?
Yeah, that got drunk one night and met a Mustang on the street.
Excellent.
And things ensued, but there may be children listening, so I'll leave it at that. This is not a Mustang. This is... I don't know what to call this. Like I said, had they said, hey, we're making an Escape electric, or a performance Escape, or performance Edge, or performance Focus, I don't know, something.
Oh, where do you think this fits into the scope of EVs, right?
So there's
a whole bunch of them. We got a bunch of crappy things like the Leaf, but it's a good commuter for people that just want to get around and they really don't care about cars. I don't really think a lot of enthusiasts buy those unless it's just to get to work. But there are performance-related EVs, right? Like, I mean, the Tesla is one. I would say the Bolt is probably another commuter. Where does this one fit in, though? So
they're going after the more sporty, the Model X from Tesla comes to mind. Their SUV entry into this market.
And again, it's not my cup of tea, but I'm pretty sure the Model X would just destroy that thing.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, I think it is meant to be more performance oriented.
If it was just purely aesthetics, I actually like this better. I'm not a huge fan of the gull-wing doors, and I just think Teslas look boring. They look like an appliance to me.
Oh no, I'll give Ford that. At least they made it pretty. I mean, it's not pretty as a Mustang. Let's only qualify that. But as a daily commuter, as electric SUV, whatever we want to call it, performance electric SUV, EV, pretty. It has a face. That's number one. And Tesla didn't really get that right. It was an option on the Tesla.
I mean, I think their target demographic and the people that are buying these things don't really care, because most of the people I've met on the street that have one, a lot of them weren't into cars at all before they got their thing, right? So it's, I don't know. It's a totally different world. I can't break the ice there. I don't know how to do it.
You asked where I think this falls into line. So let's take a look at a few of the options here. So the base model one is a two-wheel rear-wheel drive option with a 250 horsepower. Yeah, 255 horsepower, 332 horsepower, depending on which other options you pick. Rear-wheel drive SUV starting at $45,000.
Sure.
There's a lot of other performance SUVs that you can get that are faster in that category. Again, they're gas powered. You have the Edge ST. Porsche has. They're a little more expensive. They're not quite $45,000.
Oh, the Taycan? Yeah, I don't know what the base price is. Let's look that up.
The Macan, the Macan, the Taycan. Not the Taycan. The Macan comes to mind. They have both the base and the S model, and I think both of those are right around that same horsepower as well, if I recall correctly. Let's not forget the GLA AMG 45.
I mean, a quick web search says that the base model Taycan is going to cost 103, but that's
for the Taycan. But what's the Macan? I'm butchering that.
Oh, the Macan?
The Macan, the little baby guy that's gas powered.
Yeah, I don't know the base price on that one.
Yeah, so I know it's somewhere in there. It's right around 50,000. Mercedes has the GLA, which also has, like I just said, the GLA 45 AMG edition, which has 375 horsepower. Again, gas powered. So again, we're not comparing. We know EVs.
Really fun. A G wagon.
A G-Wagon.
At
103,000. You're about halfway there for the Taycan.
Saying. For the same money, I would rather have one of those.
A used G-Wagon? Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
So let's talk it up. So let's talk a little bit more about this and the different options. So they do have a GT version, which is going to be the most powerful, and that starts at $61,600.
Right. That's the guy that's fully spec'd out. What was that? Yeah, 450?
Yep, 459 horsepower and 612 foot-pounds of torque. This is the one that Ford is saying will compete with pretty much any competitor in the market. They're saying that...
yeah. I don't know about that, man.
In the EV space.
Did you see some of the videos? Like, people were checking that thing out and posting YouTube videos, and they were like 5, 6, 7 seconds 0 to 60s in their little demo. So I don't know if that's like maxed out, but that didn't seem all that impressive to me. Like,
I'll be honest, I was so upset about the announcement, I didn't watch any of the videos of people actually driving.
I feel like there were cars in the late 90s and early 2000s, probably some specialty cars even before that were running 5 seconds 0 to 60. So that's like,
They're saying that the fully spec'd out version of this will compete with the Shelby GT500.
I mean, the reason you're getting this is because it looks like a sports car. Because you didn't really care for the design of the Tesla. If you're spending 60-some grand on this thing, like, obviously you have the money for it, but you didn't like what was already available on the market. You want something that looks sporty, and guess what? This thing does look a little bit sportier, at least than, say, something like the Model X, in my opinion. But it doesn't perform better, right? The Model X just runs a train on this thing. It's insane.
I agree with that.
And it has way more than 450 horsepower. It's got like 680 plus. Don't quote me on it, but I mean it's much higher.
I will also say, moving on to other things, like you said, people who buy this, they want something that looks better on the outside than the Model X.
I agree with you. I like something that looks good. I like character.
The interior looks like a Tesla copy. Let's not.
The giant screen in the middle.
The giant screen in the middle.
It does have buttons though, and you know there's something about tactile buttons. I'm sorry, like don't get me started with like touch screens, man. Like everything on one touch screen, I get why they do it, right? They can push new features with just software updates. It's all software updates, and they can add any kind of new thing because every camera, every sensor in the car is on the CAN bus. And so you can talk to it, it's all addressable, you can add new features and make different things work together in different ways than they did before, all with software. Which is something that is a little bit harder when you have physical buttons. But
a little bit, yeah.
Driving and you want to have your eyes on the road and you get used to the button placement and you get used to having tactile buttons. And I feel like I just can't live with just an LCD screen. There's no feel there. You have to look at it to know what you're pushing.
I will agree with you. My current daily driver has the option of doing both. And I always use the buttons either on the steering wheel or on the physical stereo itself. I never use the touchscreen options for it. It does have it, it's there, but I never use them. I find myself, even though, now this is the other funny thing. If you look at the interior shots, there's buttons and dials all over the steering wheel. So, steering wheels nowadays, so we sat in the Nissan Leaf, to digress a bit. We sat in the Nissan Leaf at the auto show last week. And even that thing, which I won't even get started on, that's a whole other episode of its own. But basically, all of the steering wheels for today's cars have become game controllers. I'm not going to name game controllers, but let's be honest.
I feel like they have more buttons than a Formula One racing wheel.
So going back to the point of the tactile button feel. I don't even use the buttons on my steering wheel. I still find myself reaching and turning the dial.
Right, it's almost as bad as the LCD. Like you have to look to see what the hell it is.
Right?
Like, how many buttons can there be?
So like I will still reach out and use the physical dials and the physical buttons on my. Well, it's an infotainment. It's not even a CD player because my CD player is in my. I didn't even know my car had a CD player until I opened the glove box and there it was. And I was like, oh, all right.
So I guess there's a balance, but maybe they went too far in the like simplicity direction with like a single screen, whereas some other manufacturers have a million buttons. So somewhere there's a happy medium. I feel like there has to be.
So let's talk about the biggest elephant in the room that will continue on through the rest of the cars we talk about in today's series, and that is the annoyance that is charging your EV. Okay, now.
And some people are pleased with that, though, right? You got to remember, like they don't like going to the gas station.
Listen. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna get this out of the way. I don't care. It's not an appliance. It's not an electric razor.
You want to plug it
it's
in like
not
your fridge?
I don't want to plug it in like my cell phone every night. I barely remember to charge my cell phone. How many times am I going to drive this thing into my driveway and go, get out, go inside and play video games and forget about it and start wrenching on one of my projects, right?
Yes.
I mean, for me personally, it's annoying. Now, the reason I say that is Ford ships this thing with a portable charger. It's called
It comes with one?
It's called the Ford Mobile Charger or something like that. The mobile charger on standard 120 outlet power that we have here in this state. Most people don't have a 240 set up unless they have a shop or they may have one put in just for this purpose,
Yeah, sure.
right?
You need an electrician to do it, or newer homes.
Or newer homes, maybe, right? Here in the U.S., I'm not saying
Sure.
we know overseas that's not the case, and this really doesn't apply. But here in the U.S. it does. Ford's included charger will only add 30 miles
Per night?
per night, full 8-hour charge to the vehicle. Now, I get it. Okay, it's a portable charger. Ideally, you would have a charging station at work.
I don't know what the average commute in the U.S. is, but I feel like that doesn't even get you to work
So
and back.
the biggest argument that Tesla had was when they were doing their whole marketing thing, and something that came up at work with some coworkers the other day was the average American apparently only drives over 200 miles about 6 times a year.
Sure, road tripping.
Road tripping, right?
And they'll keep an ICE for that temporarily.
Correct, right. So as they said at that point, it's like it's cheaper or more efficient, easier to go rent a vehicle, borrow a friend's, have an old Honda in the garage, whatever you want to call it, than it is to try to drive the EV or to
I'm all
buy
for
an EV
crap
just for
box
that.
racing, man. Like the cheap cars.
Yeah. So, well,
If you watch our channel, you'll see.
You'll see what we're coming with that. So the charger is 30 miles overnight, not for a couple hours. It's a full 8-hour night. I've read a couple articles, and that seems to be the consensus of what Ford is intending. You can get the home charger. You can have an electrician come out and do the home charging thing for you. And that, who knows how much that's going to cost. It depends on the state and electrician fees and whatever. But
permits cost.
the point is, on 240, on your European power, what most Europeans have in their house, it'll charge 80% overnight. So this thing will not even charge from 0 to full charge overnight. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, Anthony, most people don't drive 200 or 300 miles a day in a commute, so you'll probably come home, plug it in, and you'll be fine driving. But you get what I'm saying? That's going to be the argument, is most people will be fine driving to and from work and charging 80%.
But you hear about all the super commuters in California?
Because that's because
tech
of LA.
companies and stuff? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's because of LA,
They're commuting like 2 and 3 hours.
They're
It's
saying,
ridiculous.
I say most. I'm not saying all. The tech, California is its own bag of bolts, and we'll get into that
Oh, man.
here in a little bit. But basically, so that's the Mustang E. So we should probably move on. We're talking a lot about this car. And it's not even the weirdest one.
Actually, the California thing is an interesting thing, right? Did you hear about the latest where California won't buy cars from GM and Chrysler anymore?
And Toyota.
And Toyota, right?
And Toyota, because...
Toyota, the one that makes the Prius. The one that, even South Park made fun of California for, being smug about their Priuses, right? San Francisco, everyone's smelling their own farts and shit. So, the very car that brought the hybrid movement and, the smugness of EV and hybrid, they won't even be able to buy anymore.
Now, we should clarify that is...
All right, the public can still buy it.
The public can still buy it, but California government agencies...
will no longer buy it.
Will no longer buy cars from Toyota, I think it said Volkswagen. No, Volkswagen was on board now.
Yeah.
So, sorry, they're targeting, according to Fox News...
Oh, it's everywhere, man. It's on CNN. I mean, if you
This
haven't
is the
heard of
article
this by
I'm
now-
reading, so I'm going to give them credit. So they're taking aim at GM, Chrysler, Toyota, and Nissan.
Yeah.
So 3 of the companies known for leading the hybrid revolution.
Sure. Nissan Leaf, Toyota, obviously the Prius. That thing's
Prius,
been a front runner forever.
And then the Bolt
and even
Volt.
GM came in, a little bit late to the game, but they came with their Volt and their Bolt, which are actually pretty good attempts at hybrids and EVs.
So their excuse is that these companies, I'm going to summarize here, I'm going to go in brevity.
Yeah, because someone peed in their Cheerios. That's what happened.
Pretty much. Basically, the automaker said, hey, we're tired of making cars specifically for your state. We should be able to follow the federal laws, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. That's the extent of it. There's a lot more politics to it.
Sure, they want to be able to set more stringent emission standards than the federal standard itself.
Correct.
So and that has flown for quite a long time, but I don't know how much longer it can be sustained.
So
right? I mean, we're transitioning away from ICEs, which I know that's the eventual end game, right?
Right.
I'm not delusional to the point where I don't understand that that's happening, but I do love my ICs, and I love them for a whole different reason. I love the character. As you can tell, we love, I mean, even the Ford attempt at the front end. Like, we like the looks of that thing on the hybrid, or on the EV.
No. So last thing on the Ford thing. I am totally cool with this as a vehicle.
Yeah.
The only thing I am upset about Ford doing is putting the Mustang name on something.
Sure.
That's the heritage.
The
it's
thing
tradition.
about a lot of hybrids and a lot of EVs that I don't like is the lack of character, right? I don't like the fact that it's just not a tunable. It's not a tunable platform yet, right? People haven't cracked the software. People can't tune it. They can't upgrade it. They can't make it faster. I mean, yeah, sure, Tesla, you can buy a base model and then pay them to upgrade it to a faster model. There was back in the day, you used to be able to buy like a 60 kilowatt battery version, and then with a software update, unlock it to 70 because it actually shipped with a 70 watt battery. But they sold it for less, and they artificially limited it so you could upgrade it with software. But that's, I mean, to tuners, like people that turn wrenches every day, if you watch our channel, or any other people that are like way better at this than us, they, there's a whole passion, there's a whole ecosystem to this tuning and racing and driving and just, I don't know, it's not there with EVs. It just isn't. Everything feels like an appliance, which is great for people that want to commute, but for me it feels soulless.
No, so we've had that conversation many times. So my problem with EVs is one, I don't care. Range anxiety is a thing. I don't care what anybody says that it shouldn't be, that I don't commute 250 miles a day. Okay, let's use California as an example.
Supercommuters?
Because let's talk about the supercommuters, but let's also talk about, I don't want to know that my car, I can't just pull off the freeway and go to a gas station.
Sure.
You're talking about LA traffic, right? We just brought up LA and the smog and all that. Let's say I'm in this base model Mustang, Mach-E, because that's the price point where I would pay for an EV, right? That's it. I'm not going to pay more than that. That would be it. $45,000 is a lot of money for your average commuter, right?
Yeah, for your average American, right?
Right. So I don't want to know that I drove this thing to work. Most people don't have ways to charge at work yet. They're not like us, and they don't work for companies that allow that, right? And they have that in their parking lot yet. Yeah. It's getting more popular, but as of right now, it's not a huge thing in this country.
Sure.
And now you have, let's say your commute is 50 miles, right? For from here to work, let's just say it's 50 miles. Now you have 50 less miles of your 260 miles to then make it home, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's say you work the 9 to 5. Well, no, your commute's no longer 50 miles. It's an hour and a half. You don't get mileage. You have battery life. Now you're driving a laptop. Now you're racing not only mileage, but time.
Sure.
The car doesn't stop.
Or how about all the people in colder climates? This happened just last year. It was all over the news with the Teslas and all the other EVs with the range anxiety problems and just range problems in general in colder climates. Because not only are the batteries less performant in the cold, but you have the heat on, like all these things that draw a ton of current and reduce your range.
You just touched on the one thing I was going to get to.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. So, let's say it is cold outside. Or defrosters can be used any time of year, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of climates. You have a physical electric heater in these vehicles. Okay?
Yeah.
That electric heater is known to drain, like you said, anywhere from 15 to 50% of that battery in the given time that it's on.
Sure.
I don't want to be stuck in a climate like that where...
How about Montana?
Montana,
February.
Chicago, Michigan, where all these companies are. Michigan,
right.
Ford, all those guys are there. Where I have a heater on and it's reducing my mileage to the point where I'm getting worried. And I can't just pull into a gas station.
So do I freeze to death or drive? In fact, this happened on Grand Tour, right? This happened on Grand Tour. His windows were fogging and crap in the i3. Was it the i3? Yeah, because he was trying to get range and he had to turn the heat off and everything else. Like, that's just miserable.
Sorry, but I'm gonna run out of energy. I'm not turning my heat off. All right.
Oh man, we're in the dead of summer. I mean, even the AC is a problem, right? So you're just completely uncomfortable just so you can get somewhere.
So that brings us to the eco part of this program.
Oh man.
Right. So, or do you want to talk about Tesla? Should we talk about the Cybertruck? Because I feel like that might be a long segment.
It's kind of a long segment.
No. Okay.
All right. Let's just say that it's hideous. We can all agree it's hideous, right? I mean, even people that love Tesla, a lot of them say it's hideous. Some of them are like really just hanging in there. They're like, oh, it's not that bad, No, it just looks like 3 polygons and
There's 4 things.
Maybe it was designed on a Nintendo 64. I don't know.
There you go. So there's 4 memes that I've seen so far, and I don't know where they are. I'll have to give credit to them when I find them. But One, you remember the Pokemon Porygon?
No.
Okay, well I'll show you. So Porygon is that. He's a 32 polygon Pokemon that came from a computer, and they put him next to the Cybertruck, and they look identical.
I mean, I gotta imagine that they designed it that way because maybe, I mean, number one, it was rushed, right? I feel like they're already under pressure to ship a ton of units for the Model 3 and the Model S, and actually the Model X, right? They're just under pressure to deliver, and they're trying to design a new truck. And he promised it by a certain date, and I feel like I've seen a trend of this whole, like, the desire to under-promise and over-deliver, but then execution is just, it's hard. It's hard to push new tech that fast, that far, with a limited budget and however many engineers, right? Also, the fact that they used a new material, right? There's stainless steel.
Right.
And it's actually not just regular stainless steel, but the same stainless steel that they use in SpaceX to build their rockets and what have you. At least that's what I heard by reading the news, right?
Also, that brings me to my point. You can't forget that their CEO is 75% just dedicated to trying to get to space right now. He's not even on his...
Sure. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so I mean, clearly it's going to be hard to, with a brand new material, get all of the angles and lines and character, if you will, of modern vehicles into a new material. Also to build a brand new truck from the ground up in such a short time, which leads it to look like the way that it does. But that's not an excuse, right? I mean, are people going to buy this thing?
I'm not, but I'm not going to buy a Tesla anyways, no matter what kind it is.
That's true. I guess I gave them a lot of crap for looking like an appliance and not having character. This is character, but it ain't the kind of character I want. It's a trapezoid.
Okay. I mean, look, I feel like they partnered with Bungie and made a warthog in real life. That was my second favorite meme. I'm just going to say that.
The warthog?
I think it would actually be cool if they would have done it up like that. Yeah, right? Like, just go ahead and done it up. That was my second favorite meme I've seen was somebody overlaid Master Chief's helmet into the picture and was pointing the Magnum at it. Yes, it was Photoshop. It's totally awesome. I love that. We got off on a tangent. I forgot the other one that I saw that I really loved. But it was the I think in one of the quotes it said something about him really loving Blade Runner, and he modeled it after one of the Blade Runner trucks in the movie. Now, okay, this has been done before.
The number of cars that have had the wedge shape.
Yes,
right?
This has been done before.
It looks a little like a DeLorean, but scaled up.
So I think that's what he was going for. I really think he wanted to, because DeLorean was a huge failure, right? It was they failed. They failed for other reasons. You know, when you start smuggling drugs inside your production cars, it's kind of not a good thing. But what I mean is, this stainless steel. I feel like he's the kind of... There you go. Yes, exactly. Expectation.
Do you remember the rendering? Has anyone seen the renderings of this thing before?
Yes.
And then expectations versus reality.
Yes. This is a
it looked
great
like
example
a sort of futuristic, but like F-150 or something,
yeah.
right? It was like it still looked like a truck.
Yep. So.
And then we got a fucking triangle.
Not even a triangle. What is it? It's like a... You know what it is? It reminds me of the Need for Speed 5 when they did the Lamborghinis.
Oh man!
In Need for Speed or Gran Turismo, that's what it looks like. It looks like one of the models from the like a Lamborghini or something from like Gran Turismo 2.
Yeah. Do you remember? All right. This is taking me way back. Do you remember Tomb Raider, like the very first Tomb Raider, and how little the polygon count was on basically all the characters and all of the art assets in the game? Well, do you remember Lara Croft's tits? That's what the thing has, the same shape.
It's just for those of you that can't see this is sorry. I looked over at his laptop right as he pulled up this picture.
That's amazing.
No, it's PlayStation 1 graphics.
Well, that resonates with me, right? We were playing games back in those days. So.
Well, it looks. All right. So,
pretty bad.
There's another one where they made it. There's another one where they made it out of Legos, and I thought that was awesome. Yes, it's just a Lego car. As far as it being, so my favorite thing was
utility is a thing for me too. Like affordable, utility, cheap. To be honest, I wouldn't mind if things depreciate a little bit because we buy cheap crap and fix it. But I understand that can't last forever, so I mean, whatever. But, right, an F-150, even a Chevy, I know you hate them, but, right, actually a Ram is my thing. So truck-wise, I go Dodge.
Excuse me.
Truck-wise, I go Dodge. Car-wise, I go Chevy.
I never said I hate Chevys. What I said about Chevys is they haven't made a great-looking car in several years.
Yeah.
That is what I said.
Yeah.
I don't hate them.
I love their ancient, simple platform.
Yes,
As the LS. You'll hear this trend a million times on this show and probably in our garage.
They have made interesting cars, but
Yes.
not what I would consider pretty. Like the new Camaro, a lot of people love it. To me, it's Minecraft Camaro.
All right. I'm a Chevy guy, and I don't like the new Camaro. I'll be honest.
It's Minecraft.
It was
Camaro.
one of those cars that I had like as my desktop background for a while before it even came out in 2010.
Yeah.
And then when it came out, I didn't order it.
So
It had no visibility. Its performance was barely even matching the previous generation, stock versus stock. I don't know. It got heavy. It got fat. It has zero visibility. It just wasn't for me.
So here's the other thing I want to say about the Cybertruck.
What?
There's a lot of videos of it, a lot of pictures of it going around with these proposed. You know how like every company when they come out with a new car, they come out with these different marketing things that show how they intend the car to be used, right? Okay, so this is an EV, people. Okay, it has a proposed 300 miles, I think, is what it says. There's a picture of it in the middle of the desert with a tent on the back of it. Now,
where are you going to charge it in the
hold
desert?
on,
You
hold
gonna have
on.
like a million solar panels?
so supposedly that's an option, right? Supposedly,
Sure, but you know how
supposedly,
many amps that battery is?
Right,
You know how many
right.
watts, kilowatts that
So
thing is?
there's one of the. I
How
think
much
it was-
energy you're going to be in the desert forever? You're just like, I hope you brought like those requisition packs
Well, that's
and
what I'm
water.
saying. So the tank, it's supposed to be a truck, right? And
I feel like you're part of the Martian.
You remember
right?
how
like where
much
he's surviving on Mars.
rationing everything and like drops.
He's
Yes.
like growing potatoes out of his own shit.
Yes. That's. So the you remember my F-150 and it was the short bed even, right?
Yes.
It was the 4-door short bed.
Same problem here, right?
Big cab.
6-foot bed, which is
Well,
it's functional,
but-
but I mean, come on.
but you remember how much crap we fit in the truck, right?
Sure.
So the picture of this tent,
yeah.
the picture of this tent, it goes over the bed of the truck. Mm-hmm. It does not fit in the bed of the truck, from what I can see. It becomes the bed of the truck, right? That's great. That's
Okay,
great.
Okay.
Okay, but you said provisions. By the time the battery charges, you will be dead.
I don't know. I mean, unless you can make potatoes out of crap.
So the desert. Make our own Martian soil, guys. Come on, we're gonna go out to the desert and camp in our Cybertruck.
I'm gonna call NASA and be like,
You know what? I can't say one thing though. At least if it was in the desert with this paint scheme, every
but fear
plane,
not. It has an excellent 0 to 60.
so you can get lost and
Its
run a
defining feature as a truck, not function or utility, or the fact that you can just put fuel in it and go somewhere, but the fact that it can do 0 to 60 faster than a Porsche 911, which I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. And you know what? He's proven himself multiple times, but whatever. Also, this thing ain't gonna handle like a 911. Let's be real.
No.
All right.
No. It's
So
probably-
why is the measure for Teslas always? This is what gets me, man. Like I appreciate the fact that we're trying to help the environment and that we're trying to revolutionize, and come up with new technology. That's all fine and good, right? And if it gets people into cars, like I said in the beginning, all the more the merrier, right? The more people that get into this hobby and the more people that are excited about it, the better for me, right? I don't want to turn anyone away from this kind of stuff. But the measure of a car, like the what makes it good isn't just how fast it can go from 0 to 60. It just isn't. Right? There's all sorts of things. Number one, there's character, obviously. There's also handling. That's a big one. Handling is a huge one. And when you got a 5,000 plus pound car, it's not going to handle that well. There's things you can do to make it a little better here or there. But it's no Porsche 911. It's not even a Miata for that matter. So I don't get it. And also, it doesn't just it goes beyond 0 to 60, right? You've seen a lot of these drag races with these cars. They'll do a quarter mile or something, but they won't do a standing mile. They won't do a half mile. They won't do a road course. Because in most of those cases, the ICE cars, at least as of today, the higher end ones, the actual race cars, destroy them. They just completely wipe them out. By the way, this has just got me off on a tangent, man. But in drag car standards, all right, if you want to talk about 0 to 60s in 1/8 miles and 60-foot times, it's really not that good. It's impressive for a production car, but for the amount of money you spend on a Tesla or any other ICE versus what you can do when you just buy an off-the-shelf ICE car, and you'll see this on our show, we build them all the time, and you see it on other shows like Motor Trend, you can take that and shove not even an equivalent amount of money, like half of that, a quarter of that, into that car and get it to run a lesser time.
Yeah.
Right? What makes a good drag car a good drag? There's drag cars that can run, forget 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or 2.9 or 2.6. There's cars that can do 0 to 300 in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
300.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't get all excited. I've been doing drag racing since I was a little kid, since I was less than 10 years old with my dad, going to Milan Dragway in Norwalk and all over the place. And obviously this Dream Cruise, it's not a drag race, but right, like I've been around muscle cars and drag cars my entire life. And so when people get all excited about the fact that a Tesla can do 0 to 60 at first in like 3 seconds or now 2.6, that doesn't excite me. I've seen cars do 300 in that time.
Right. So I think that, yeah. So, okay, we're never going off on a tangent.
Yes. So I digress from my tangent, but I just had to get
fine.
that out there. Like, it's not that exciting. If you talk to actual people that turn wrenches, actual car guys, actual people that race cars, and we're not even that far into it, right? We're not professionals by any means.
Right.
But even us as non-professionals understand that, and many of the professionals do for sure understand that.
But I think that goes back to your previous.
So
point
I'm excited
too.
that these guys are getting into cars, but you need to understand that it has been done before and it has been done better.
Right.
And I am excited for the point when EVs get there. I hope they become tunable. I hope that we can do drivetrain swaps at some point. I hope that we can put bigger batteries and capacitors, whatever we have to do to get those things to go faster and tunable. But yeah, I mean, as they stand, it's not amazing. Like Tesla sets up these PR stunts where they go and beat a base model car, a base model Mustang GT. That's not even fast. That's not fast, right? A 13-second quarter mile, a 10-second quarter mile. 10-second is reasonably quick, yes. But by drag standards, that is not fast, right? There's 9-second cars, 8-second cars, there's 3-second cars.
But for production vehicles, a 10-second quarter mile out of the box is respectable. I mean, that's
fine. And then they have demons that can do 9.
Let's talk. Yeah, but let's talk.
And then they had to drag race a demon and prove that they. At least it's not that. That's not a drag car.
No.
And my point is, yes, for production vehicles, it's impressive. But guess what? For the same amount of money, I said this already, that for the same amount of money as a Tesla, you can make several cars that are faster than it.
Right.
So I don't care that it's production or not. It's very easy for me to go and turn a wrench and make it faster than it. It's very easy for me to, if I wasn't mechanically inclined, to go to a shop and pay them the same amount of money to go and make something that's faster.
That's true.
So if you're about performance, then that's not like a trump card for me. I don't care that you bought it and you can go this fast.
Well, let's not forget that despite other than braking, right? So.
Oh yeah, let's try and stop. 5,000 pounds.
Well, no, let's talk. No, sorry, I meant braking as in mechanical failure. Getting a 5,000 pound car, no matter what it is.
Yeah, it's not that I don't understand the appeal for other people, right? Yeah.
But I think that the other difference is most production. I'm not talking about purpose-built race cars because they break all the time. Even production cars break, but we use our production cars that we've modified to race, and they break.
Sure.
That happens. But if you take a stock Mustang GT, let's use that example because I've driven one, a new one, and put it against this Tesla, any of the Teslas, let's say the Model S, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, that Tesla,
even the Trapezoid.
Yes, this Tesla is going to beat that Mustang down a drag strip.
Sure.
It's going to.
Sure.
And it may, but the difference is the Mustang can turn around, go back to the start line, and do it again and again and again and again and again.
Oh yeah, repeatability. And don't get me started on bikes, man.
Well, that's
our second favorite passion. That'll probably show up in another podcast, but we're avid bikers.
You can't do that in the Tesla. It'll go into protection mode. It'll run on a battery.
Sure, the battery's overheat.
Any normal things, but not. We're bashing on Tesla a lot. It seems like, but that's any EV. I know this guy. So I went to an autocross a couple weeks ago in my Mustang. Right, Mustang, not a great autocross car yet. It's not set up for it. It's a big American car. It's meant for drag racing and
sure. This is for Miatas and Porsches and.
But this guy showed up in a fully electric Chevy Spark.
Oh my god.
Now. No. So there's more to the story.
Right,
so he had it on Sparko wheels, really sticky tires, and he actually had his laptop out and was programming something in it. And I walked up to him and I was like, hey, not really my thing, but I'm curious, So I walked up and asked him and I was like, hey, so what's the deal with this thing? He's like, well, it's a Spark that I modified to meet SCCA autocross regulations, so I can only have tires that are this wide, blah, whatever. But this thing, I've actually come here once before and it did really well, so I want to take it out again. This guy was out there racing that Spark all day long, running back to the emergency vehicle plug-in where they had for like the ambulances.
They have
and
one
stuff.
there?
They have one for the ambulances because a lot of the ambulances have backup batteries and
all right.
you know all
Yeah,
the medical
sure.
equipment and stuff, and plugging it in after each race. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. But this little
This
thing,
is our future, man. This is what's going to
But,
happen.
but this little thing, I want to say something nice about an EV because I feel like we've bashed on them a
Yeah,
lot.
we have.
This little thing ran the third fastest lap of all of the front-wheel drive cars there.
Sure.
Okay? Consistently.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Had he not had that power cord that they ran from the building to charge the emergency vehicles, he had to stay after the race already and wait I think it was like 3 hours or something.
That's kind of like my
for it
sub
to
point,
charge.
though, right? It's like, I feel like these things will get there. I'm excited for the day when we can actually tune these things, when we can actually race these things properly, when we can build them, when we can...
Or hot
tinker.
swappable battery packs even. So you can go to the track, swap it out, right?
Yes.
You can stuff like that. Yeah, I agree
Yes.
fully. Or like you said, let's say I get a Spark and they have a very number of and I can put a
But
larger,
they have to understand the reality of what they're trying to achieve. In like, all right, from a commuter standpoint, it's a completely different ballgame. They're trying to achieve totally different goals. These things aren't built to be race cars. But there is a car culture around, right? There's a lot of people that do this as a hobby and that take interest in it. And even professionally, right? So at some point they'll be catering to them. Like eventually we're going to be all on ICEs. At least I imagine. I can see the future. I can see the writing on the wall. And when that day
all
comes,
ICs will be gone.
no, I'm not saying they'll all be gone. I'm saying like eventually we're probably not going to have ICEs. Sorry, I meant EVs.
EVs.
I
We'll all
meant
be
EVs.
driving.
We'll all be driving
as
EVs.
daily
Is what I meant.
right,
Yes,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
So that's fine. It's just that they have to understand to cater to those people, if they want to cater to those people, that there's a whole different set of standards you have to meet. And it's not just how fast you can go to 0 to 60.
Right.
It's things like handling. It's things like reliability and performance in terms of like, yes, like you said, how fast you can recharge it, swappable battery packs, can you tune it? Can you make it your own? Can you make it good for an SCCA event? Can you make it good for a road course?
Can you pull the electric motor out of a Model S and put it in the base model? Can you do these different things? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get you.
But they seem to be trying to evangelize the fact that they are somehow race cars, even though they're not, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the PR stunts are revolving around that. How fast we can go 0 to 60, how fast we can do a quarter mile. And they compare them to production vehicles like a Mustang GT or a Camaro, and it's just... It's sad, because that is not the example of a race car, right? Car culture is much more than that.
Well, that kind of brings us to my last point that we kind of wanted to go over today, and that is the Nürburgring and how terrible, many electric companies have done
On the Nürburgring?
On the Nürburgring.
With reliability, and
overheating, battery life, brakes, a whole number of things. The regenerative braking system's caught on fire in one of them. I don't remember which one, so I don't want to say something that's completely wrong. But I remember hearing about it. So let's talk about the Porsche Taycan.
So this is a car created by a company that has been building race cars, actual race cars, not just production vehicles that you can drive around, but race cars for decades.
Right.
Okay, they have pedigree, right? They race in what do you call it?
They race in everything.
Yeah,
they're in everything.
They're
Porsche
pretty much every category, right? I'm trying to think, but like, yes.
They're not. Are they still? I don't think they're in rally anymore. They were for a long time.
Right, they're part of Volkswagen Audi Group too. So the company at large is in pretty much every aspect of motorsports.
Right.
And so they have a lot of experience. They have a lot of engineering on their side for building things that handle, things that perform, things that are reliable, things that can run 24 hours strong at full tilt. Right. So it's a little bit humbling, I feel like, for Tesla to come and just presume that in a short amount of time that they can do the same thing with their EV.
I think it's ambitious.
It's ambitious. It's
ambitious. It's our favorite Top Gear quote. It's ambitious but rubbish, as we saw.
Yeah.
When they brought their Model S.
Right.
And the Taycan, my favorite shot.
I'm not discouraging them. I feel like they should. They should go back to the drawing board. They should get some data.
My favorite shot on Jalopnik was of the broken down Model S that they're trying to cover up so nobody can see what it is, and it's getting passed by the Taycan as it goes back around for a second lap.
Yes.
Right? Or it's going through.
And I don't even think that was Porsche's goal with the Taycan. Right? They weren't trying to build like a car that destroys the ring. They were trying to build a pretty good EV that can compete with Tesla and that is reliable. And you can actually track it, sure. But they have the pedigree to do that. They have the experience and the right.
Yeah. No, they do. They have the well. Not only that. I mean, when you're talking about a small startup, it is a small startup. I don't care what anybody says. Tesla is a small startup compared to a titan like Volkswagen Audi Group.
Yes.
Like, you can't compare. They have thousands and thousands of scientists, hundreds of years.
They can throw millions of dollars at engineering and research, and
not hundreds of
and
years,
just burn
but
it.
of total man hours worth of hundreds of years of research and development. They can pull from any number of companies. They own Lamborghini. They own Audi is Audi.
So that was kind of my thought in my own mind, is like if Tesla does pull some Hail Mary and pull it off and like gut their Tesla and make it faster and overload the batteries and pull every possible stop to make that thing beat the Taycan's time, which they seem to have already done unofficially.
Yeah. They will do it for a short period of time.
It'd be very easy for Porsche to just flip on, if they wanted to. They could just turn around and just crush them.
So I think that's the one thing that we have to understand, and that's my biggest issue. And I'm probably gonna get some. I know Mr. Musk is gonna come back and probably find us for me saying this, but the biggest issue that I have with Tesla is not what it is. It's Elon Musk himself.
I don't care about his entrepreneurship. I feel like they need someone that's that aggressive. That's I don't know.
Anyways, I don't want to get into that topic but I feel that recently I think that.
My thing about it is just the smugness, right?
Well, it's not. But every car company, like Ford versus Ferrari, just came out last week.
Fine.
That was a huge thing.
There's always competition between these car companies.
Between the car companies. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying.
Competition, breeds better engineering.
My point is, I use him as an example because he's the freshest in my mind. But it happened with Ford and Ferrari. It happened with Lamborghini and Ferrari. It's happened through every car company. Porsche did it with.
And it drives innovation.
But there's always a certain level of pride, and I get that. And then, like you said, it's just that.
But stubborn pride is not good.
No.
Pride is good.
Stubborn pride, he says, isn't good.
Yeah, well, I'm guilty of it. But at least I can admit it. At least
you can. I'll give you that. So, I mean, I think we should kind of do a quick summary here on what we think about EVs versus ICE, because we talked about it in fragment throughout the series or throughout the show. But here's what I'm going to say. I'll leave this because I know we've been going for a little while here. Basically, I am totally cool with electric cars being what they are. I'm totally cool with, like you said, with people pushing the boundaries of what we can do with science and technology, with having the cars the way they are, with maybe this is the future, but again, my biggest issue, and we can take a minute to talk about this too, is the misconception that are these vehicles. I guess they're like, let's take the Prius, and this will be my thing. The Prius is okay. People, everybody.
You're gonna talk about carbon footprints and stuff?
Like, just for a second. I don't want to go off. We can do a whole episode on that. But what I gotta say is, if you're buying a Prius, tell me you're buying a Prius to save on gas. That's what you're doing. You are not buying a Prius to save the world. So the reason I say this is, let's be real. We can talk about carbon footprint. I don't want to get into all that. That's all she says. She's whatever. But my point of the matter is, if you're buying a Prius, tell me you're buying the Prius to save money. That's fine. On gas. Nobody likes spending money on gas. It's fine. Even car guys. We don't want to go spend. We drive big V8s.
It's too boring for me, man.
I hate pulling at the gas station.
I'll drive a V10 all day long and burn like 9 miles to the gallon. I don't care.
But you don't want to pull into a gas station, right? Nobody wants to go to the gas station, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so
that's true. But at least it only takes me like a couple of minutes to fill up and have full range again.
There you go. So until I can pull off at any intersection or not any, because
mostly every exit.
Plug in my car, go get a coffee, and wait 15, 20 minutes, half hour. I'll give them a half hour, 45 minutes at the most.
I think you can do that at Superchargers. It's just not every station.
No, but it has to be that convenient.
It has to be that convenient.
For people like me,
I agree.
Right? Like, and I know there's people out there.
For mass adoption.
For mass adoption. Exactly. Same thing with why Honda failed with not Honda. Many companies played with the idea of hydrogen. It was too hard to get out to mass production.
I was kind of hoping that would happen, right?
It was really cool.
Water vapor.
It was really cool. Like the 2 or 3 Honda models I've seen where they tested it. Mazda had one.
Yeah.
That was in pre-production. I don't know what happened.
Right. You got the same energy density. You solved the energy density problem. You've solved the refueling problem. Yes, it's more complex because it's hydrogen. It's very explosive.
Very dangerous.
But the fact that it's you can have liquid hydrogen, you can pump it into a fuel cell. Conceivably, if they built all of the things the same as they have for ICEs today, you could just go to a station and fill it up within a couple minutes.
Within a couple minutes, yeah. Even if you had to have a specialized person there to do it for you, because apparently that's what it came down to.
That seemed like an awesome tech for me, but I guess
So that's what I'm saying. But for the love of God, car companies, don't do what Ford did.
Don't do what Ford did.
If you're going to make something that has almost 100 years of heritage
Uh-huh.
that is never been out of production.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a brief argument in the Mustang things. I know somebody's going to call me out on it about when the Ford Pro came out of the Mustang and how that was supposed to replace it. And there was supposedly a half-year gap in the production of the Mustang, blah, 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 blah. 64, 65, yeah, I don't care. My point is, it's been ongoing since it came out in 64. We'll say 64 to make people happy, okay?
Okay, all right.
Since it came out in 64, it's always been, to some degree, a two-door pony car. And we're going to talk about pony cars in another episode, so let's not go into that now. A pony car, right? So that means 6-cylinder or V8.
Yeah.
You know, all those other things, whatever you want to say.
Rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive. It's never been an SUV. Ever. Never. Ever. That's like when Mitsubishi got rid of the Eclipse and brought it back as a crossover. Like,
did they really? I don't follow
Yes, they did.
Mitsubishi,
It's an Eclipse cross something now. Beside the point, please don't do that. If you want to make an electric car, make it an electric car. If you want to make electric versions of the car, then make electric versions of the car. Had you come out and said, oh, the electric Mustang's out and it looked like a Mustang, 2 or 4-door Mustang coupe, I probably would have went and test drove one at least.
I think I'll probably still test drive one.
Well, yeah, but I think I would have seriously went down and looked into one just to see what it's about, right? Because to me, that appeals to me. I'm a Mustang guy. I love Mustangs. Do that.
I should get one just to annoy you.
If you want to annoy me, you know what? You can do that. Anyways, so those are my final thoughts. I love everything. So to me, to sum up what I've said in the program here, internal combustion engine cars, ICEs, have a soul. They have a passion. They have mechanical parts. They move. They do. Yes.
They're primitive and they spew toxins and blah blah blah.
But it's like I can get in my Mustang, start it up. It has a soul.
I mean, come on, you guys. For those of you that don't resonate with this, like, haven't you had a hobby? Haven't you had something that you were just passionate about that works? It's like a mechanical way. I don't know.
It's just something about it. Like it's something about it, and that's what I love.
Electric cars. Maybe like EV culture will get there at some point, but right now it's just too cut and dry. It's too prescribed. It's too, like I said, appliance. It feels like an appliance to me. When it gets to the point where it has a soul, where it has character, where I can tune it, and where I can evolve it and build scrappy things and transplant drivetrains into some, like 240 or whatever.
Yes. Now, there's one other thing that we didn't talk about in this series that I think we should do an episode on in the future, and that is all the people that are taking ICs and converting them to high-speed electric
cars.
That's
cool. I see the writing on the wall, right? It's going to happen eventually, and I'm excited for that. But right now, there's not too many people doing that, and it's just not for me.
All right, should we end here?
There's one thing we didn't talk about, which was like, all right, the drag race, right? So. And it's a little bit of backpedaling, but this was like a
You're really not going to let that down, right?
Drag racing was a thing for me since I was a kid.
Okay, all right.
My first memories of cars is me sitting on my dad's lap in a Camaro and freaking punching it down the road and going to drag strips and racing and going to the World Nationals. Not the NHRA, but the World Nationals in Norwalk, Ohio. And so it's just been a thing. It's in my blood.
Okay, so let's talk about it. I assume we're talking about the Model S versus the Taycan again. Okay.
Yeah. So Top Gear did a thing, right? I mean, watch it, read the news, look it up for your own sake. But as usual, the Tesla fanboys and the PR departments and what have you, probably Musk himself, I don't know all the details, so I won't quote them, but had a huge stink about the fact that they did this episode and that they portrayed the Model S as inferior, at least in the quarter mile, to the Taycan Turbo S.
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is they actually did them a solid. So, as it turns out, and as their rebuttal, in fact, right, Top Gear's rebuttal, was that they actually put in the video and in the article the best times ever recorded by them in a Model S of the Performance Edition in Ludicrous Plus mode. They didn't put the times that they recorded for that segment. For that segment, they actually did race the Taycan Turbo S and they did race the Model S Performance in Ludicrous Plus mode. And when they did that, the Tesla Model S was actually slower than the reported numbers.
Yep.
They gave them the benefit of the doubt and recorded their 11.08 quarter mile time instead of the 11.23 that it actually got that day. So it was actually, in fact, slower. They gave them the benefit of the doubt. The Taycan ran multiple times over 2.610 to 60 and a quarter mile in the 1060s. So it was completely wiping the floor with this Tesla, and they gave it the benefit of the doubt in their video and in their article. And of course, all of the fanboys had to get all upset and claim, oh, it's fake. Oh, it wasn't in ludicrous mode. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. I just can't stand the smugness. Just the pure denial in the face of facts. It irks me. So anyway, that's my bit. Please don't be smug. Please don't deny the fact that car culture has existed. If you're just new to cars, right? If you just got into cars because of EVs and you think, oh, they're fast because that's what the marketing wants to tell you, and so you're going and talking to all your gearhead friends and saying, oh, it does this, it does that. This is the kind of thing that upsets us. It really is. Like, be truthful. Be truthful, right? And know a little bit about the culture, right? Don't be ignorant.
Well, you know me. I mean, that's like. Well, I'll get into this more later, but you know me.
But welcome at the same time, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's like, okay, now.
Please learn from this.
Listen,
please go and absorb, learn, understand what makes us tick. We're trying to understand what makes you tick.
I have owned everything. I've owned imports. I've owned muscle cars.
Yeah. Someday I will own one of these
motorcycles.
Probably not a Tesla unless they change their face on these things.
Probably will never. I don't want to get into that. Anyway,
I might steal the drivetrain out of it, right? They do have one of the better drivetrain. I could steal that and shove it in something.
Never mind. All right, so
anyway.
let's go ahead and end there on that. So I think that's a wrap for tonight's show or tonight's podcast. Share with us your thoughts on all of our social media pages at Moto Geeks Garage, especially about EVs versus internal combustion engines. We would love to hear what you have to say.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully next week. I don't know if we'll be filming something or not, but anyways, happy Thanksgiving and good night.
Wow.
I can write over 500 megs a second.
Jesus. Overkill much.
Just a little. I don't know how organized this is going to be. It's our first attempt. It's probably not going to go too well. I apologize. Yeah, I butchered that. It's not happening. Cut.